Hello, everyone. Thank you. Hello to the people in the room and the people watching virtually. We are recording this and it'll be archived on the Dynamic Strategy webpage. So I'm really excited about today. It's the first reveal, so that's very exciting. I want to thank our co-chairs particularly because they've been kind of shepherding everything through. They're going to come and do a really brief introduction, but first I want to thank the campus. We've had such response to our surveys, to our listening sessions, and it really shows there's a lot of interest in where we're going to go in the next 3 to 5 years. So I want to introduce you to our co-chairs, Scott Titsworth, Dean of the Scripps College of Communication, and Char, the Executive Director of the School of Nursing, and they're going to kick us off. Thank you.
Very nice music. I want to echo the President's comments. We are really excited to be here today. It's an important milestone for all of the work that has went on so far as part of the dynamic strategy process. Starting in about October, the President convened the leadership of this group and gave us a charge of really forming a grassroots effort with the university community to set goals for our future based upon what our strengths are as a university. That's been an exciting discussion that we've had with all of the people involved in the dynamic strategy pillar groups. And what's exciting is that today you get to see sort of a first draft of the culmination of a lot of conversations that have taken part across campus. In just a moment, Char is going to talk a little bit more about the appreciative inquiry process that was used to guide the dynamic strategy events that took place and the research that has taken place. And then in a few moments, you'll get to start hearing some of the initial ideas from each of the pillar groups. One of the things that we want to stress, though, is that what you're going to be hearing today is really the first draft of these ideas. Importantly, after today, we're going to ask you to provide additional feedback so that the groups can continue refining their ideas for an eventual presentation to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Scott. So before we launch into our update, we'd like to preface by presenting you with the overall approach that we've taken to the Dynamic Strategy Initiative and also the organization that's been used for the engagement. So the initial initiative's work has been categorized into 4 work groups, and we call these pillars. The first pillar is Learn, and this focuses on how we educate our students. It focuses on our innovations in the classroom and our pedagogy. The second pillar is Discover. Our Discover pillar focuses on the innovative ideas to help guide us in unlocking the full potential of our research and our scholarly activity and creative activity, propelling our newly designated Carnegie R1 classified institution into new realms of impact and distinction. The third pillar is Engage. This pillar focuses on the ways in which we engage with our state and our community. It helps us determine ways to broaden our partnerships and to strengthen and deepen the relationships that help us impact our students and the communities. And finally, Work. Work focuses on recognizing that our people, our faculty and our staff, make our university all that they are. It focuses on how we can commit to them in the same way that they commit to our students and to our university. The pillar group's co-chairs will be talking in a little more depth about the engagement strategies that they used to gather this initial information and data. But first of all, we'll talk a little bit about the overarching approach that has been used for the initiative. And this is appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry acknowledges that the questions that we ask are what determine the data that is found and the results that are discovered. So it is intentionally focused on discovering strengths, opportunities, and potential. It engages our stakeholders in using organizational strengths and successes to learn from the best lived experience or our past. It helps us discern our biggest strengths and our most important values, things that are happening right now. And finally, to envision that what we could become, or what President Gonzalez has deemed our audacious goals. This approach gives each voice attention and merit. It helps ensure that our future is guided by the entire university community. I'll turn it over to Scott to introduce our pillar co-chairs.
Again, we're excited to see the draft ideas from each of the pillar groups. Our first pillar group will be the Learn group with Paul Shovlin and Dave Nguyen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dave Nguyen, and this is Paul Shovlin, and we're really excited to share with you some of the really excellent work and discussion that has been coming up through our Learn group. And so when we think about Learn, we used a variety of engagement strategies to help people contribute to the conversation. And we did this through a lot of different focus groups with a number of different entities, and I'll just highlight a couple here. We had some of our folks do different kinds of focus groups with RHE faculty and students. We've met with a variety of employee-related groups, different kinds of faculty, and we also engaged with each of the senates associated with Ohio University, so that's administrative, faculty, graduate student, and undergraduate students. And then we did a lot of person-on-the-street kind of interviews across Baker Center just to get a better understanding of what are the things that are meaningful to students, faculty, and staff across Ohio University as we think about where do we ultimately go with our learning opportunities. The other area that we use to help us present some of the information that will follow on the subsequent slides is there was a big ideas survey that was put out to the university where people could share different ideas or initiatives that they thought would be relevant to the university, and unshockingly, many of you had a lot of thoughts about what learning could look like at Ohio University, and so we used a lot of that information to influence and shape some of our conversations. And as Scott and Char said, our hope here is that after today, you'll share some information, what resonated, what didn't resonate with you about the ideas that we're about to share. So we think about our audacious goal of becoming a T1 R1 institution. So many people are familiar with the concept of R1 being a very high research intensive institution. Well, what if we were also, and we are, but amplifying that, a very high intensive teaching institution? So how do we showcase the really excellent work of our faculty and students? How do we think about how to share the great message of what does undergraduate and graduate learning look like on our campus? And we really think about this from what I'm going to talk about is experiential learning opportunities and initiatives. So the first one will focus on how to expand potential internship opportunities through a suite of on-campus employment, alumni partnerships, corporate partnerships, not-for-profit partnerships, and thinking about how do we help students envision what their careers could look like today, tomorrow, and in the future. And we want to imagine the college campus not only as a place and space for curricular learning, but also a learning laboratory for co-curricular learning through internship opportunities. So really thinking about how do we re-envision the workplace for our students? How do we re-envision our relationships with many of our alums and corporate partnerships to really figure out, are there ways that we haven't necessarily been talking to them about how to support student learning and thinking about that experience that they specifically have. The second part of this really thinks about how does undergraduate research or research more broadly fit into our portfolio of meaningful learning experiences. So thinking about where is the integration of research and teaching happening together, but how do we actually develop an infrastructure? How do we develop an ecosystem that will ultimately allow our students to have a reciprocal relationship with their faculty and the students and the faculty to have reciprocal relationships that will allow them to learn from each other in terms of not only what does it mean to be a student on campus today, but how do they also further the research agenda of our really outstanding and excellent faculty members. And really thinking about this connection point can go a really long way to help people discover, is research something that they're interested in doing as part of their life? But more than that, it's about the skills that come with managing and running and participating in a research project that can really help elevate our students as they think about where they might go in the future. But in short, as we think about experiential learning, and we say this quite frankly on our campus, experience matters. And so the first part of our Become a T1 R1 initiative is about thinking about experiential learning and where does that fit into our priorities.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Dave. I'm going to talk about Goal 2, our learning or curricular initiative. And the first strategy is evolve into an AI-forward university with an emphasis on supporting human connections. This strategy recognizes that the current proliferation of artificial intelligence and generative technologies are a crossroads for the future development of education, both at Ohio University and all universities. In our stakeholder engagements, it has been clear that the unique spirit of Ohio University is deeply rooted in our people and the vibrant communities they are a part of. We recognize that we have an opportunity to develop into an AI-forward university consciously and conscientiously within a greater framework of supporting human connections. We imagine some potential outcomes of this strategy: the development of an AI plus degree that can be added to any major, a minor, and AI certification for undergraduates, graduate students, teachers, and staff, the enhancement of BRICS courses through AI integration, the thoughtful integration of AI into wraparound services for student support, an ethical component to AI education that prepares students to not just be able to work with AI, but to do so appropriately, the formation of an advisory committee that guides the ethical integration of AI technologies in the greater university. This strategy aims to go beyond merely keeping pace with other universities as they navigate the rapid evolution of technology. It seeks to lead in best practices in leveraging AI for truly sustainable outcomes. Our second strategy, to define and exemplify T1R1 by amplifying the unique blend of research, teaching, and equitable outcomes that take place in Ohio classrooms. In our stakeholder engagements with students, we were pleased to hear about good experiences students had in our classes. Students mentioned their one-on-one experiences with faculty in honors tutorials, hands-on learning through creative activities such as LARPing, and compelling interdisciplinary focuses on important subjects like sustainability. Given our recent national recognition as a research-intensive university, we believe that by doubling down on our commitment to teaching and educational excellence, we can elevate Ohio University in unique and nationally distinctive ways. This strategy may include revisiting and redefining excellence in teaching and supporting it and valuing it the way we do with research. This means establishing clear criteria that recognize innovative teaching methods, integration of research into the curriculum, and contributions to equitable outcomes in education. It emphasizes our commitment to supporting and valuing teaching on par with research. This strategy could also include enhancing educational support at Ohio through continuous assessment, analysis, and improvement of teaching methodologies. Coupled with assessment, analysis, and improvement, educators would gain greater access to resources centered on cutting-edge educational research, advanced teaching technologies, and innovative instructional strategies, in addition to suitable rewards for ongoing professional development. This strategy also recognizes that our students want to be treated holistically and humanely to effectively learn in our classrooms. In our engagements, students mentioned that this aspect of teacher interaction was the most important for their educational success, especially post-pandemic. Accordingly, identifying and pedagogically supporting students' effective needs to provide the most exceptional learning conditions could be another important outcome of the strategy. I want to take a second here and emphasize that when we talk about students in our strategies, we mean all students. We are thinking of branch campus students, transfer students, CC plus students, veterans, non-traditional students, online students, graduate students, international students, and yes, Athens campus students. It is our goal in this pillar to supercharge learning for all students, including any I left out of the list I just gave. This concludes the presentation from Learn. We eagerly anticipate your further feedback on these strategies and any additional approaches the university could employ to position OU as a leading teaching as well as research university. Thank you. We now turn to the Discover pillar and my colleagues Elizabeth Beverly, Professor of the Diabetes Institute, and Chris France, Distinguished Professor of Psychology.
Good afternoon, fellow Bobcats. Liz and I would like to begin by thanking the entire Discover Pillar Committee. It's been working diligently on these issues since November. As you heard from Char earlier, our committee's charge was to understand Ohio University's research and scholarship excellence and untapped potential, and to outline opportunities to solidify our designation as a Carnegie I classified institution, which is to say a doctoral granting university with very high research activity. At our kickoff meeting in November, Dr. Gonzalez urged us to develop audacious goals that would, 1, create distinction for Ohio University, 2, reflect our existing research strengths and starting capacity, and 3, be guided by the principle of serving Ohio and beyond. The process that we used to engage stakeholders and arrive at our emerging themes included both surveys and listening sessions. So the surveys, we included, there was a one-item survey, discovered theme survey that was posted online by the President's office on November 29th. And then our Discover Pillar Committee came up with a 4-item survey as well that we initiated on December 1st, and the link to the survey was distributed broadly with the help of the university and college email lists. And this survey asked respondents about 4 issues. The first one asked about their perceptions of Ohio University's current and emerging strengths in research and creative activity, the areas that they thought we should build upon to promote national and international distinction, and areas 3 and 4 were what targeted funding and non-financial support do people believe will be necessary to achieve these goals. In all, we received more than 300 responses across those surveys from faculty, staff, administration, students, and alum. In addition to the surveys, we also had listening sessions. So we had 11 listening sessions in total, and these were both virtual and in-person sessions, and they were this broad campus representation in terms of where this sessions were conducted and who was part of them, as you can see on the slide above. After we had data from the surveys and listening sessions, we did thematic analysis on the issues that were coming up, the broad topics that were coming up. And then this was followed by our committee engaging in discussions for a number of weeks to identify our proposed goals and strategies. Based on these discussions, the Discover Committee arrived at our current draft of emerging themes, and I will pass it to Dr. Beverly to describe those emerging themes.
Thank you, Dr. France. So today I'll be presenting the goals prepared by the Discover team. Our first goal is becoming the leading university in health translation research with an emphasis on the biological, psychological, and social contributors to health promotion and illness prevention. And to achieve this, we have 2 strategic approaches. Our first is to prioritize community involvement in all levels of research activities and ensure research outcomes are accessible, culturally sensitive, and directly benefit the communities involved. We have excelled at biological research here at the university. One of the many great examples is the world-renowned Kopchik Lab that excels in growth hormone research as well as drug discovery. We have many other examples at the university, including the Ohio Musculoskeletal Neurological Institute that excels at functional aging research, and that is led by Dr. Brian Clark, as well as some of the great cardiometabolic work done by Vishu Puri out of the Diabetes Institute. Great examples of the psychological contributors that we excel at can be seen from the Voinovich School in Dr. Holly Raffel and the work that she's done with the Ohio Center for Excellence in Behavioral Health Prevention and Promotion. And then, of course, most recently, we've excelled at some of the social contributors, not only through the Advance Institute, but also looking at the Ohio Alliance for Population Health, which includes participation from multiple colleges across the university. And most recently, through the Alliance, they led the State Health Improvement Plan. Our second strategy is to build and strengthen internal, regional, national, and international partnerships through mutually identified research collaborations, drawing on respective strengths and emerging areas, to further interdisciplinary collaboration, student and faculty mentorship, and professional development. One of our examples of internal collaboration across numerous colleges is the Ohio University Health Collaborative. And we've done multiple projects through this health collaborative, one of which being the Southeast Ohio Quality Improvement Hub. Also, the Cardiovascular and Type 2 Diabetes Health Collaborative, both of which are funded by the Ohio Department of Medicaid. Regionally, I want to highlight some of our expertise from the Center of Intervention Research in Schools, which is led by Dr. Steve Evans and Dr. Julie Owens. And this shows where we excel in some of our regional work. This includes our undergraduate students, our graduate students, faculty, and work in our local schools. And not only is this work excellent, but we've actually been able to augment this work to a national level with recent funding from the National Science Foundation, which now trains undergraduate students through this center in the RAU program. And then finally, we have excellent partnerships across the globe, and we have numerous international partnerships. I'm going to highlight just a few here, but we have partnerships with Pontifical Catholic University of Ecuador, University of Botswana, and Chubu University, which happens to be my child's favorite because all of those students go to East Elementary School for visits. For our second goal, we aim to become the leading university in energy and environmental research with an emphasis on economic development and sustainability. We aim to achieve this by our first strategy to strengthen and expand initiatives in basic and applied energy research, to develop sustainable, actionable technologies, methods, and policies aimed at achieving a low-carbon future that focus on materials, transportation, storage, and infrastructure. The expertise in this field is evident through the centers and institutes that we have at the university, including the Institute for Corrosion and Multi-Phase Technology, the Center for Advanced Materials Processing, and many others. Our second strategy is to prioritize research initiatives aimed at understanding, assessing, and preventing or mitigating the economic, ecological, and social impacts of contemporary and legacy pollution and waste and global environmental change. Again, research efforts have been led by our experts at the Russ College of Engineering, but I also want to highlight the contributions from the Voinovich School and their dedication to the Appalachian Watershed, the Zero Waste Initiative, and also the advocacy work done by the Center for Law and Justice and Culture, as well as at the College of Arts and Sciences, the wonderful work being done by some of our climate change scientists, including Dr. Ryan Fote and Dr. Jeffrey DeBelco. And as we focus on this and the technologies, this will propel us to a more sustainable and environmentally conscious future. And then finally, our team is currently working on formulating a third goal, which is going to focus on emerging research areas. So we will ask you to provide additional information as we solicit input. So thank you so much. And so at this time, I'm going to introduce you to the next pillar. So I introduce you to Imans Janreis, who is Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs, and then Tracy Plauk, who's the Dean of the Voinovich School.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Imans Janreis. I serve as Assistant Vice President for the Division of Student Affairs, and here with my co-chair, Dean Tracy Plauk from the Voinovich School. We also want to thank our committee. We've been hard at work, and so there's lots of really good work being done, so thank you very much for the work that you have done up to this point. Much more to come. And then a special shout out goes to Megan Vogel to keep our committee moving and structured in the right direction. So our charge as Engage was to really study the ways in which we serve our communities, and that means locally here, across the state, regionally, nationally, and internationally as well, and how we can deepen and broaden those partnerships to truly impact students and impact our partnerships as well. And I do want to note that the way we have been defining community partners is very inclusive and very comprehensive. So when we talk about it, we really mean any kind of employer across sectors, industry, nonprofits, community agencies. This could include alumni, any external entity or stakeholder that's engaging with us really connects with community broadly for us. We got a lot of feedback, and we were very thankful for all the feedback that we were able to source. We set out 3 different surveys to our stakeholder groups, and those being the community partners, we put alumni together with them, even though they could fit across all 3 of these, students, and then faculty and staff. And we got hundreds of completed surveys, lots of responses there, and then we facilitated in-person open forum sessions here in Athens, and then at every single one of our regional campuses, and then we also hosted online open forums as well. I do want to note that we had fantastic representation from our community partners here in Athens and across all of our communities. They came out, gave great insights, feedback, and we really, really appreciate that from them. So for our audacious goals, our first goal, and we have 3 of these with a series of strategies that correlate with them, is to become the national leader in students' career and life preparation through community impact. And the cobbling of those together, we really see and hopefully can find a way forward to impact all of our students as well. And we want to be inclusive of that across the board too. One of those strategies is to stand up a community impact center, unit, and infrastructure, which is well-resourced and can really expand and deepen those partnerships across every which community, regional, nationally, and internationally as well. Then we also want to expand the number of sheer opportunities that our students have access to. We want to create mutually beneficial partnerships between our community partners and our students and enable faculty and staff to do this in a way that truly builds deep partnerships that last a long time and expand to what is a customized approach to each and every student's unique needs as they think about their career and their life preparation as well. That could be funding students. We know that internships aren't always equitable, and so how do we help support all students getting access to experiential learning? It could be connecting with our community partners in ways to help them better host and facilitate those connections with our students. It could be better alumni mentorship, or more expanded, I should say, alumni mentorship as well. So just broadening the scope regionally, but also just internationally that we have with our students. And I think back to the Learn committee, you can see there's some overlap that's starting to happen. And experiential learning really is not just the internships. When we think about that, that is research opportunities, that's study away, study abroad, that could be creative activity, leadership, any kind of community impact broadly.
Good afternoon, everyone. The second goal that our committee is bringing forth is related to the regional campuses. Ohio University will fully implement engagement strategies to support the important role of regional campuses in economic development, workforce fulfillment, and community vibrancy. The first strategy here is related to economic development and workforce fulfillment. The regional campuses are seen as an asset in their respective communities in Ohio, and we are recommending that in collaboration with employers in those areas, as well as other community partners, including but not limited to the respective coordinating councils, the university support the RHEs to undertake an analysis of what the workforce needs are in that particular area, the county in which the university has a footprint, and then contiguous counties as well, thinking about the broader area. And then immediately after receiving those results, undertake a process to re-index the curricular offerings at the regional campus to be more reflective of what the community and that area of the state needs. This could include credentialed programs, it could be stackable certificates, it could be new associate's, bachelor's, or master's degrees. Following the completion of that work, the university should actually invest to resource those curricular changes at the campuses and kind of bring the plan full circle to support the offerings that will be most impactful for the economic development of that portion of the region. The second strategy is related to community vibrancy, and again, this is related to the regional campuses. We are proposing that investment be made to support a community engagement coordinator at each of the regional campuses, which could help amplify the work of the leadership teams there to truly see and embrace opportunities for students to become more directly involved in community, and also to be a more meaningful resource in terms of partnership to community-led initiatives that are underway. The regional campuses provide, terrific offerings related to the use of space and partnership, but we think that there could be some additional steps that would help to support those relationships. Curricular innovations might be included in thinking about how to connect students with more community-engaged activities. For example, there may be a potential of credit for service in certain circumstances. So we would encourage innovative thinking in terms of, that community engagement with community partners. The third goal, rather, is focused on alumni and our current strength as with our relationship with our alumni, but really building on that and leveraging that even further. So our third goal is that Ohio University will measurably broaden and deepen its alumni engagement. The first piece there is related to an innovative engagement plan. We measure our alumni engagement in different ways, including communication, volunteerism, experiential learning partnerships, and giving. And we propose that the Alumni Association, in concert with the rest of the university, develop a plan that helps to better or more specifically measure the types of engagement that are occurring and build out strategies to have even more of that occur. So that's strategy number one. Strategy number two is to increase the volume of alums who are engaged on an annual basis in one of those four categories, or more of the categories ideally. What we are proposing here as the audacious goal is to have at least 25% of Ohio University's alumni engaged in some way, shape, or form on an annual basis. This might sound like, well, 25% is not a huge number. When you think of the tens of thousands of alumni that we have, it actually is a stretch goal. And for a little context here for you, in 2023, I need my glasses here, 22.3%, I believe, 22.5% of Ohio alumni, or just under 64,000 members of the Bobcat Nation were engaged. And so we're proposing to move that needle even further so that by the end of this strategy implementation, we would have at least a quarter of our alums engaged on an annual basis. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the work team, and that is led by Cindy Anderson, who's Professor and Chair of Sociology and Anthropology, and Greg Fialco, the Senior HR Director and Director of Benefits. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. I want to start off and thank also our fellow committee members who've met every Tuesday for several months and worked outside of that every Tuesday to help bring these goals forward. And as a reminder, just want to remind everyone that this pillar, we want to determine how we can commit to people in ways equal to their commitment they make to the university and to students. In terms of engagement, we relied more heavily on the surveys. We did conduct some listening sessions, one of which was in this room actually, but we really relied on the survey responses we got back from our faculty and staff, and we actually received quite a bit. So we had over 481 surveys responses for the survey the Pillar Group put out themselves. In that survey, we asked for individuals to provide feedback on things they liked working for the university, things that were going well. And then we asked for at least 3 items that they would like us to see work in improvement on things at the university. And you can see in the work survey, we had over 481 responses. In the dynamic strategy overall survey that were related to work, we had over 176 responses. We then broke those down into the responses into over a dozen categories and try to place all the responses in those to try to see what's emerging. And as you can see behind me, some of the biggest things that came out were improvements to compensation and benefits and improvements to work culture and environment.
Okay, so what we found out was that work is incredibly important to all of us. We really appreciated the feedback from members of the community, and some of the information that we got, Greg pointed out, but we want to talk about one goal, okay? We're kind of bucking the system here. We only have one goal, and that goal is very audacious, and the goal has 4 strategies. So our one goal is to make Ohio University a destination employer for those passionate about the mission of public higher education. And what we want to talk about today is whether or not your vision for Ohio University matches up, or you'd like to see this changed a little bit. So I'm going to turn it back over to Greg, and he's going to go with the first strategy about how we're going to get to being this destination employer.
All right, so the first strategy we had was to prioritize a culture that focuses on recruiting, retaining, recognizing, and rewarding faculty and staff across the university, including all campuses and all modalities. And how we can get there is building compensation and benefit strategies that provide Ohio with a competitive advantage in recruiting and retaining talent. So what we mean there is, do we make sure we have the right benchmarks set up, that they're providing impactful information, that we can get that information consistently over time? Can we track our progress towards that information? And can we move to having a competitive advantage against those benchmarks we set in all of those areas? Also, we want to work towards achieving a well-balanced and sustainable workforce across all campuses and units. Some of the feedback that came back was providing support to academic units and a support in appropriate places. So can we set forth a plan to make sure that our workforce is well-balanced and sustainable in the right areas? The next strategy.
The next strategy, to enhance a workplace rich with support, trust, belonging, and respect. And I think those are some values that we heard many, many times over with the survey, and these are incredibly important values. To do that, we talked about conducting a campus climate survey, but not just having a survey, using the results from that survey to develop action items, and then having a feedback loop where we can regularly inform the campus of short and long-term progress towards our goals. We also talked about intentionally connecting the work we do as individuals with the mission of Ohio University. And that the idea behind that is to ensure that all of us have a sense of purpose and belonging at our university. Next, we've got promote open communication about university decisions and changes that impact our work. And finally, enhance training opportunities and foster dialogue to inspire transparency and trust across the university.
Okay. Our third strategy is working to support a culture that encourages all divisions and units to prioritize employee well-being. So that is also an item that came out strongly in our feedback and our surveys. So we want to review and improve current wellness resources to support physical and mental wellness. We want to improve awareness, increase connectivity, and streamline access to services. And we want to, again, do that through all campuses and all modalities. We want to create opportunities for social connection and community building that promotes inclusion and celebrates all identities and perspectives. There's some worry that through COVID and remote work, we've kind of lost some of the sense of community. Can we make sure we prioritize that and bring that back as well?
Okay, and our last strategy to meet our audacious goal of becoming the destination employer for passionate people in higher education, our last strategy is to establish a Center for Ohio Employee Excellence. And this would involve many things that we're already doing, but maybe reshaping them, repositioning them, and making them available differently. So the first is to create an onboarding experience so that we make sure when people are hired, they're integrated into our community, university community and regional community, and that they're set up for success at our university. So if we bring somebody in, we want them to succeed. The second is demonstrating gratitude and recognition for all employee service and accomplishments. So that's kind of a fun one. We celebrate ourselves. The last one would be to enhance professional development opportunities within our existing work and provide opportunities for continuous improvement. And by within our existing work, we're suggesting that we want people to have the chance to grow and learn and train as part of their jobs, not as something that they do outside of it. So those are our 4 strategies for our one audacious goal of becoming a destination employer. And at this point, we do look forward to hearing from you and revising our goals accordingly. We're happy to do that. The more input, the better. I want to thank the committee. They've been a lot of fun to work with. Most of the people on this committee I've never worked with before as a faculty member, and so it's been great. So I've enjoyed that. We do welcome your feedback. And at this point, I'm going to invite the Dynamic Strategy co-chairs, Char Miller and Scott Titsworth, back to the podium.
Well, in closing, Scott and I, along with the Pillar co-chairs, thank you all for attending this update. Please keep in mind that this is a work in progress. There are still so many ways for you to engage and to participate. The URL on this slide is a link to a survey that we invite you all to visit and to put forth your ideas, your thoughts, and your reactions to the preliminary goals that were shared today. And just remember that this initiative is really about thinking, listening, seeing, and acting. And that is all in the effort to bring about powerful and purposeful change. But that is only as meaningful as it is representative of our entire Ohio University community. Thank you.
I also want to say thank you to everyone that showed up in person on this beautiful spring-like day in Athens, Ohio, and also thanks to everyone who's tuned in on the stream, especially our colleagues in the regional campuses and in points outside of Athens. We appreciate your time to be here as well. President, we're very grateful on behalf of all the co-chairs and members of the Pillar groups. We're grateful for you to entrust us with this process. We're excited to continue working towards developing this strategy. I also just want to say a big thank you to Carly Leatherwood and Amy Trout in the President's office, who has done immeasurable work in keeping all of us organized and helping us carry this out. Thank you so much for your help. Special thanks to all the co-chairs for also doing all of the work that has been reported today. It's exciting to hear the fruits of your labor, and we're excited to see how that goes forward. We've demonstrated that a lot of work has already been accomplished, but that work is not over yet. We still have a lot of work to be able to take what is a draft form of this dynamic strategy process and then move it through until we get to the Board of Trustees in June, where we can make a final presentation. What we ask that you do, everyone watching, is that by March 8th, that you take time to review the website on the dynamic strategy that's listed there, and then to provide feedback to each of the pillar groups where you find it important for you to do so and where you have feedback to provide. There will be links, as Char said, on the website. Of course, you know the individuals involved, and you can also feel free to reach out to them individually. After March 8th, we will have approximately 15 to 20 days for the groups to put that new information into the draft of what's already been created. We as a leadership group will come together again on March 28th to talk about how the draft will then evolve in preparation for taking it to the board in June. We're excited to do that. Mostly, I think we're excited because this dynamic strategy represents the grassroots ideas of the Ohio University community on what our strengths are and how that will propel us into the next several years for a bright future for our university. So again, thank you for your time today. We look forward to being able to continue this process, and we hope that you are active participants.